Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Cooking for Wellness Chef's Challenge. This is our second to last Chef's Challenge that we're going to be doing because of starting in September, we're going to be having a different process, a different program, still with the same wonderful, talented chef and dietitian that we have. So tonight for our Chef's Challenge, we do have Chef Jason Johnson, his challenge is his creativity of creating a recipe in 30 minutes with ingredients he has no idea what's under the towel. And our dietitian Michelle will be talking about those ingredients and sharing the nutritional knowledge and information that she can impart to us. So, Chef, if you're ready for the unveil.
All right. Let's see what's prizes that are in store for me this week. Not bad. So we have Barramundi, which I love this fish. Really nice white fish. Great flavor, great texture. Pick them up. It's almost like a Mexican turnip radish type of thing. And then currants.
So the currants were recommended by Pat Belmont. The Barramundi was recommended by Cancer Support Community Central Hub because we just did a Cooking for Wellness class with them. And I reached out to the dietitians and said, hey, we have some leftover fish. And my frugal little mind was saying, and heart was saying, we can't just leave that in the freezer. And then the jicama was in place of the celery root that unfortunately is not in season, and we could not find them at two different Giant Eagles. So jicama was recommended by me.
Perfect. Well, let's see what we can come up with here.
So currants, aren't they a really tart kind of fruit?
They are tart. They're like, of course, like raisins, but they're a little tart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can't really. Yeah. I was looking them up. So most of them are just going to be dried, found in the U.S. versus in like true raw berry form on them. But like you're saying, it's definitely a little bit more tart than a sweet type of fruit. But it still has, even though there are those tiny little things, they still have a good source of antioxidants of like vitamin C and vitamin A. So they're a great source of nutrition. So they're fun to use. A lot of times you'll see them used like in jams most of the time. And they're similar to what I kind of found were like the gooseberries. They're slightly kind of in that family, I guess would be the best way to put it. Do you use currants a lot, Chef?
I do not actually.
Okay.
But you really can't, like Michelle just said, you're usually only going to find them in the dry form. And yeah, I have not used them a whole lot for most of anything. So we'll see what I come up with here, what's going off the top of my head.
Has anybody in the audience used currants at all? That was definitely a random ingredient for tonight.
We'll see.
Yeah, and just to highlight the barramundi like we did last time, remember it's a great source of our omega-3s, and so that doesn't necessarily follow the true to form of salmon when it comes to that. Oh, red currant jelly. Yeah, definitely, Melissa. I could see that. That's usually where I see them. I actually never seen them in the stores.
Yeah, I have to agree, Melissa, that that's the only way I've ever had currants was the red currant jelly. I know I've looked for the berries before to try to play with them and making my own sauce, making my own jelly, and that didn't happen. So it's like, okay, I'll just buy the pre-made already.
Yep. Well, there's a reason why you didn't find them, darling, because we usually don't find them in the U.S. in their true form. So.
Right.
Mhm.
So Chef, you said that the Barramundi was one of your favorite fish. What, did you already share why that was?
Well, one, I like white fishes, so like your halibuts, your mahi-mahi, barramundi. Barramundi, it's been around for a long time, but it's only just becoming a little bit more popular in the last several years as a really nice firm white fish. It's kind of a mild fish, so it really can take on anything that you pair it with, whether it's a sauce, a glaze, or any other type of side accompaniment. So it's a really good versatile fish, a little sweetness to it. So it's just a really good fish. So yeah, I'm blotting it dry so that there's any moisture that we can remove that, just like any protein that we discussed before, so that we can take any moisture off of it so it can get a nice sear on that to lock in a lot of the flavors. I took my currants and I'm going to, in a sense, rehydrate them. I have some fresh ginger, the currants, and squeeze a little bit of orange juice and then part of the orange in there. So that's going to infuse that with some flavor. And we'll probably make that into like a sauce or a glaze for our fish.
Okay.
Take our well, technically you're supposed to peel your jicama, but as most chefs, we just take our knife straight to it. The jicama has like this outer waxiness. It's considered a tuber. So like your turnips or your, oh God, it escaped me. But yeah, in that type of family.
So that wax is normal. I mean, it's natural in that, because when I picked it up at Giant Eagle, I felt the wax and it was very whitish.
Yes.
And I didn't know if that was added to it to preserve it or if that was natural.
That is natural.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's more of a kind of a starchy vegetable type of thing, but you actually can only consume the roots of this plant. The other parts of the plant is actually considered toxic for us. So you always make sure we're just utilizing the root itself on this product. And you'll obviously often see jicama already cut up. So again, when we kind of think about the nutritional content of our fruits and veggies, we always talk about the different colors. We want to consider that white is still going to be a color in the rainbow, and it is still providing a good amount of nutrition, even though it's not necessarily a dark color plant that we might think about. So it's still a good source of fiber. So 1 cup has just over 6 grams of fiber, so it's still considered a good source. And remember, we're going to get a good amount of water content from our fruits and veggies too. So it's definitely a good hydration source. But the thing to think about, the types of fiber in the jicama itself, it has inulin, and inulin is a type of fiber that is what we would call like a prebiotic. So prebiotics kind of help feed the probiotic or our gut microbiome. So it's a great way to get that good gut support. And we're starting to see jicama a little bit more, kind of linking more towards kind of the low carb world, that they're using jicama in different capacities. So you'll see it sliced up really nice and use it as like part of a veggie tray. I have seen it sliced really thin, and I've bought some at some different stores, and it's actually like a wrap. So I've used that in place of like an actual traditional like wheat based wrap. So that's something to kind of keep your eyes out for in the grocery store. It doesn't really have a distinct flavor that really comes to mind. Darlene, anything that how you would describe it? It has a good texture to it. It's nice and crunchy.
Good texture, but it really doesn't have, really doesn't have like a flavor to it.
Yeah, you definitely can add a lot to it if you wanted to.
Yeah, the time that I've used jicama at home is I was making a jicama slaw. So
Mhm.
like a coleslaw
And
and
that's
so it
technically
had
what
that.
I'm doing here.
Yeah.
See, great minds think
All
alike.
Yeah. So I will say you want to make sure you use it up pretty fast. I feel like it does not last very long in the fridge. And I think it's just due to the water content to it. It gets kind of gooey fast. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, you have to use it up pretty quickly. It does not hold long well, like, within a couple of days, once you started to, you cut it or you taken that waxy seal off. That waxy seal actually, acts as almost like a protective seal. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be a little tricky.
and I just cut this into thin slices, and then I'm going to cut little matchsticks in a sense.
So, but since it doesn't have a lot of flavor, it's great. Like how chef's gonna do it in a slaw. You can definitely add it to a traditional coleslaw, and nobody will know that they're even having jicama. Probably sneak it in, right? It's all about sneaking
That's
veggies
always the
in.
key. Trick them.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I've never cooked the jicama. Does it retain its crispness, or does it get really mushy? Or does it cook up like a potato because it does have that body to it?
You know what? I've actually never had or used it in a cooked steak before. So I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, if you look at the carbohydrate amount in it, it doesn't. It still is going to have a source, but it's not going to be as starchy as a potato. So I would probably lean on the fact that it's probably not going to be too starchy, like if you did prepare it or warmed it up in some fashion.
Because I did see a recipe on making jicama fries, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's it could be healthier version than a white potato, but I never, like I said, I've never cooked a jicama, just made a slaw with
I
it.
have heard of jicama fries. Yeah, I have heard of jicama.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Now that you say that.
Like something I'll have to play with sometime
I
and
always tell
just
people
experiment.
it's like an apple and a potato had a baby.
Yeah, that's a really good description of it. Yeah, so if we looked at the nutrition content, 1 cup is about 50 calories and has about 12 grams of carbohydrate, where a half a cup of a potato has 12 grams of about 15 grams of carbohydrate. So it is going to be a lot less starch compared to a traditional potato. But it does have 44% of the vitamin C. So remember, those antioxidants are really good to support our overall cell health throughout the body. It actually does have some magnesium and manganese. So just kind of remember that we want to get our different minerals in too as well. Sometimes we just kind of focus in on the vitamins, but magnesium and manganese are still supportive roles. Magnesium is still good for our bone and teeth health and things like that. So just something to kind of think about, when we're looking at our fruits and veggies, that it's the vitamins plus the different minerals that they're going to provide for us too. Yeah. But this will be a nice, light, refreshing dinner tonight with the fish and the slaw, for sure.
Yeah, just a little. So we're going to take the slaw in the bowl. I'm just going to make like a little vinaigrette. toss it around in there. I'm gonna take a little bit of red wine vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of honey.
A little bit of sweetness.
Everybody
That
knows we've made vinaigrettes plenty of times.
you
We'll take a little bit of lime juice.
And this sounds so much lighter than the traditional cream base dressing for a slaw.
Mm-hmm.
Put a little clove of garlic.
Yeah, a lot of times people kind of bring up honey and the difference from a sugar perspective. So just realize it's still a form of sugar, just like if you added, some just granulated sugar to tea, for instance. It's really just how much you're using. I feel that people tend to use less on honey just because it has a sweeterness to it because it's in liquid form versus granulated. So that's just something to kind of think about when you're using that. But even the context of like agave or honey or maple syrup, they're all going to have the same sugar content. They just have a little bit of a different taste for us.
Mix up a little garlic in here. We'll put that in our little vinaigrette. Everybody in the pool. Lime juice. Brighten it up.
Get it all out of there.
Yep, all of it out.
I'll have to remember to bring a blank piece of paper over tonight, chef, so you can write down all of these ingredients for this recipe that you're making, because I know I'm going to want to try this slaw at home.
All right, now we'll whisk it up a little bit. Currents are rehydrated. We'll add a little bit of salt in here just to bring out the flavor.
Now, Michelle, I've seen that there's a lot of the cooking shows that I've been watching. I've been using the kosher salt versus the table salt with the iodine. Is that just because of the kosher salt's got a little heavier grain and a bigger taste? I mean, is there a reason why they're not using just a regular table salt?
Probably not necessarily. I think kosher salt has a little bit more of a pungent flavor, and doesn't break down as fast as like a full-on granulated salt option. But the sodium content across the board, whether it's the iodized salt or that traditional option, the Himalayan salt, whether it's the pink or the black, they all have the same amount of sodium to them. I just feel a lot of times we tend to use less of it at times. If it has more of a potent flavor. So same along with sea salt or kosher salt too. With that. And we actually are fortifying our salt with iodine. And so if there's an iodine deficiency, that's more related to goiters. So that's why we have that iodine added in. So, yeah, so something to think about, because I know that's the spice aisle gets bigger and bigger, and a big chunk of that is the different types of salts that are available. So remember, that's going to be sodium chloride. So it's the sodium piece that actually, because that could have some effects if somebody has high blood pressure, things in that nature, some cardiovascular histories. The other thing to think about is there's a lot of no salt products out there. So I tend to recommend just going more to your herbs and spices, or like the Mrs. Dash line, because they're generally salt-free. The thing about of the no salt brand specifically is that it has potassium chloride. So we're taking out the sodium piece, but they're adding in potassium. And sometimes certain individuals have to watch the amount of potassium that we're getting in our diets too. So always clarify with your physician just to double check on things like that. Yeah, so that's always a pretty big question. But the best way is just eat more to reduce the sodium in diet. Just eat more whole foods. Over 70% of the salt in the traditional American diet is coming from all the processed foods that we consume on a more regular basis than preparing things for ourselves.
Yeah, I had no idea about the potassium, so that's excellent to know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you always want to just kind of clarify on that, especially if somebody's on a diuretic. It depends on the formulation and the kind of the process of how that works. And so higher potassium could be better for somebody, but there are medications that may have the potential to increase the potassium, or the body holds on to the potassium that we're taking in through our foods. Like that. So things get a little tricky. So that's why we have those fresh herb gardens, take advantage of the spring and summertime and having those ready to go for everybody. For sure.
So I have my little slaw here. It has a little red pepper, orange pepper, some onions, and the jicama. We have our little vinaigrette here, that's red wine vinegar, honey, lime juice. We'll put that all in here. And I don't have any fresh cilantro, but I have some cilantro paste. So we're going to squeeze a little bit of that in here to give that little cilantro to it.
Mm-hmm. I love those tubes, especially in the wintertime. You get that nice fresh flavor, and then it stays in your fridge a lot longer than that big bucket of cilantro that we get at the grocery.
I have to say, I did pick up a length of fresh ginger, and then I got a squeezed tube of ginger as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells great.
Adding those peppers really, just from when you had it on the cutting board, chef, added a lot of color to that.
Yep. Oh, it smells wonderful.
You know, and coming in October, hopefully a select few will be able to smell as well when we go back to when we start our hybrid programs.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's looking forward to that for sure.
Let this hang out. All those flavors infused. Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
You haven't touched that fish yet.
That's because it won't take long. It's not that thick, so it won't take long to cook.
That's good, because you have 6 minutes and 20 seconds left.
How much, Sally?
6 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time. Got our on here, a little olive oil. I've already salted it. My fish. Not going to add too much on because I always think sometimes you want to be able to enjoy the flavor of the fish. So I just got some salt and put some granulated garlic on there. I'm going to add a little coriander. Because that's going to go good with the orange and the currants.
And then, Steph, you said you're going to make more
tropical here.
A little tropical, okay. It's always good to go to the tropics.
Matter of fact, we'll put a sprinkle in our slaw just to mimic what's on our fish. So, salt, coriander, garlic. Let's keep it simple. We got our pan nice and hot, our fish nice and dry. Over that lemon juice, lime juice. Come on, baby. All right. We always like that sound. We'll salt the back half. All right. While that's in there, then the fun part, the sauce.
So Jason, do you get the dried currants and reconstitute them like you did and then make a jam out of it, since the ladies were trying to figure out how to make their own?
What'd you say?
Could you, since you rehydrated the currants like you did, could you do that and then make a jam from that?
Yeah.
Since that's how we've kind of seen them. Okay.
That's good to know.
All right.
Because of sometimes making homemade jellies and jams make great presents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you need another palette or another berry to use versus just your traditional options.
So is it just my computer, or is everybody getting kind of a stop motion for Jason where he's like in slow mode and then he moves regular, or is that just my computer?
No, I'm getting it every so often.
Okay. Well, Chef only has another 3 minutes exactly, so our technical headaches will be going away soon.
Yes, soon.
So Chef, you said that I saw the orange. What else did you put in there to when you reconstituted it? Oh, you might not hear me because of the noise.
Oh yeah. He added some ginger. I
Oh,
do know
ginger.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
ginger and orange. Yeah. See, there's that excitement that we usually see.
So it looks like the fish got a little white around the edges, so you can tell that it's starting to cook through.
I'll show you guys.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. Very nice.
So you see, I did not touch my fish. I just put him in there, let him do his job, and he let me know he was ready to be flipped when I went to, and that was just picking it up with that rubber spatula. He easily was able to lift up off of there. The
Okay.
protein's gonna let you know, hey, I'm ready, I'm good. All right, now, let's get ready to plate.
He was not fearful of that 6-minute warning at all.
No, he wasn't. And this is the 1 minute warning. I actually have my timer on this time.
Ready to go.
Instead of keep glancing at my watch.
Really good.
Now, if we didn't have the Barramundi, you were mentioning that cod would work, and what other kind of fish would be an option for this?
Any white fish, like, so halibut, I mean, that's on the expensive side. Halibut right now is about $24.99 a pound.
Oh yeah, no, thank you.
Oh goodness.
There's the alarm.
Perfect timing.
Voila.
Got to garnish and fresh. Oh, yum.
That looks great.
It does.
Well, congratulations, Chef, on another creative challenge met.
Now Darlene gets to come and taste and see.
Well, first we get to take a picture. Well, does anybody have any questions for Chef Jason or Michelle tonight? And if you would like, if you want to put it in the chat, you are welcome to use the chat mode as well. Yes, Chef, we got a great job. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you very much, Chef and Michelle, for sharing your expertise and your creativity with us and your knowledge, and we greatly appreciate that. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We will be back on August the 5th for Cooking for Wellness with Cook.
And I won't be with you guys again.
Oh.
But we will have a guest chef